Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. This is your personal transformation strategist, Shauna-Kaye speaking. And this evening, I am here with you to discuss another exciting topic. I hope Kevron is here because actually this topic was suggested by him. For those of you who joined Vicky Gold for Tea Time Tuesday would have heard us discussing how you go about manifesting your greatness. And the topic we discussed was unleash your inner greatness. And I am still honored to have been invited by Vicky to discuss that topic. And as is the norm when you discuss something exciting that impacts someone in one way or another, you have spin-off questions. And so one of our dedicated listeners, Kevron, had asked some questions about self-discipline, as it was mentioned during Tea Time Tuesday. And so I felt the need to somewhat expand on that because self-discipline is something that we all need for all of us who are on a trajectory to greatness. One of the key ingredients or one of the key factors that is required is discipline, specifically self-discipline. It doesn't matter how much someone outside of you encourage you, attempt to motivate you. If you're not disciplined by yourself, there is very little that you can accomplish. Remember, guys, you are more than welcome to share in the conversation. Your opinions, suggestions, and questions are definitely welcome. And also, feel free to share this broadcast on whatever platform you choose to, whether it's Facebook pages, Facebook profiles, or even in a group. It doesn't matter. Feel free to share it so that your friends can also benefit from the discourse. And remember, guys, don't be shy. Whatever you think, if you have any questions, feel free to share it because that is how we grow and learn from each other. Good evening, Miss Bennett. I see a number of persons here. Trishelle, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, Shanice, Benjamin, Karan, David. Thank you all for joining. I'm more than happy to share with you my understanding of self-discipline and the role that it plays in my life. Hi, Sammy. Thank you for joining. So again, this discourse is all about self-discipline, and my take on it is that between actions and results lies self-discipline. And in fact, self-discipline is all part and parcel of the actions that you will be taking on your journey. Of course, appreciating the fact that no matter how disciplined you are, no matter how committed you are definitely going to face some setbacks. But as it has often been said, a setback is a setup for a comeback. So it doesn't matter what setbacks, what mountains you face, you have the ability to recover as long as you remain focused and as long as you remain disciplined. But you might be asking yourself some questions, and one of the main questions I believe that might be etched on your mind right now is, what essentially is self-discipline? And I am the first to tell you that self-discipline is a very wide topic. It's a topic that you can basically construe however you choose to, based on your mandate, based on your goals, and based on your own understanding, and that's fine. But this evening, I want to narrow down self-discipline to include your why it is that you do what you do, what propels you forward, what pushes you, what keeps you motivated even when things get so difficult that you get to the brink of throwing in the proverbial towel. And how do you keep focused on your goal even in such difficult times? And as you know, my hashtag going into 2018 and beyond is focus. That is something I could take with me forever, because in order for us to be successful at anything, we need focus. So, the essence of what we're discussing this evening is basically we're trying to establish that there is a direct correlation between today's actions and tomorrow's result. And that correlation is called self-discipline. You have to be committed, you have to be dedicated, and above all, you have to be disciplined in order to achieve what it is that you want. So, what essentially then is self-discipline? On the surface of it, self-discipline is basically your reason for doing something and for sticking to it through thick and thin for the long haul. So that's the first part. It's your reason, or as we often say, your why. Why is it that you do what you do? So self-discipline is about having that burning desire inside of you, which brings you to a goal, or which brings your goal to fruition over a long period of time. And I want to emphasize a long period of time because this is not about achieving some sort of overnight success. It is you adjusting your mind to the reality that it is a process and it's going to take you some time. There are some people who have had to remain disciplined for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years. One of my virtual mentors, Les Brown, will tell you that he stayed away from his dream for in excess of 14 years. And even though he was committed to learning the information and developing himself as a speaker, he was so afraid to venture onto the scene that he belabored the point for 14 years to his friends and those around him, but he did not venture on. And it took him all that time. And he was disciplined throughout this time, but he was just too afraid to get to the next level. So just in the same way, when you develop that self-discipline, you have to be prepared to go the long haul. So again, self-discipline is about having that burning desire inside you to bring your goal to fruition over a long period of time. So precisely then, self-discipline is about your ability to control your urges and your impulses. It's basically what keeps you focused on what you need to get done to successfully realize that goal. So one of the reasons why I chose this route to discuss self-discipline is that you are not going to stay committed if you don't have a burning desire. If your why is not something that drives you, that gets you out of bed each day, you're not going to stay committed. That's one of the reasons why so many people start something and don't finish it. A lot of us are guilty of starting things and not finishing them. And one of the reasons for that is we do not have a burning desire, or this particular thing is not in any way attached to our why, or we cannot see yet how it links to our why, so we are not inclined to take inspired action. So I am here to tell you that a part of being disciplined, a part of having self-discipline is knowing why you're doing what you're doing, and so remaining inspired irrespective of how difficult things get. Okay? Someone once said that self-discipline involves committing to long-term gains without falling prey to instant gratification along the way. One of the problems with many people is that they want to achieve something, they know what they want, they know that they also have the ability to achieve these things, but they are a bit impatient. Too many of us are constantly caught up with looking for instant gratification. And that's why so many people get caught up in the well-known pyramid schemes. And some people call them get-rich-quick mentality. You should never have a get-rich-quick mentality because you're bound to get into some kind of problems. Good night, Miss Bennett. Thank you for joining. You're bound to get into some kind of problems. So you have to realize that instant gratification is not what it is about. In fact, it is almost paradoxical to the whole notion of having sustained self-discipline, right? So you have to be committed to go the long haul. And always remember, motivation does not last, but neither does deodorant, right? You have to apply it every single day. So it is not a case where you're going to get a boost of motivation right now and it remains with you forever to be tapped into whenever you so desire. No, you have to keep refueling that motivation. And the motivation we speak of is at the very foundation of self-discipline. You have to keep refueling it. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. Just like when you apply your deodorant in the morning, it's not going to last you for next week and next year. In some cases, not even for the rest of the day. You have to keep reapplying it, right? It's the same way. So essentially then, the entire process which determines why one person succeeds and another person does not can be summed up in this one term called self-discipline. And I believe that self-discipline is an ongoing process in the chain of growth and development. So in other words, it is not something that you develop now. Thank you for sharing, Miss Bennett. Self-discipline is not something that you develop now and you just keep it there in your unlimited reservoir and it stays there again for you to just tap into it at your own leisure. You have to realize that it's a process and you have to keep refueling it, as I said before. So now I can give you certain keys that will help you to develop self-discipline. And Kevron, if you're here, just let everyone know, because I know you might have some burning questions, and I would like for you to share your views as we go along as well. Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Ransford Smith. Hi, Mr. Noel. Cyprian, thanks for joining. So yes, if you have any questions, guys, feel free to share. And also, if you have any comments or any suggestions of your own, I'm sure our listeners would be very happy to benefit from those as well. So feel free to share. So again, like I was saying, self-discipline is a process. It's an ongoing process, and you have to keep reminding yourself as to why you're doing what you're doing. So this evening, having given you that foundation in terms of how I choose to conceptualize and operationalize self-discipline, I am now going to tell you about the process of self-discipline. And I try to narrow it down to answer the question that Kevron posed, which was, how do you develop self-discipline? I'll try to answer that question as best as possible, and I'm here hoping that it will benefit everyone in some way or another. And as I'm here, I'm trying to find Kevron. So, guys, while we wait for a few minutes, for a few seconds actually, remember, share on your pages, and also give your suggestions, your comments, your opinions. And also, if you're not yet a member of the Facebook group Manifest Your Greatness Now, know that you are more than welcome to join that group, because in that group we share daily our own insights and motivational / inspirational material that will be beneficial to you. Okay, so now I'm going to outline the process essentially that we will be going through as we develop self-discipline. Hello, Kevron. Thank you for joining. I was kind of stalling because I wanted you to join the broadcast and not necessarily have to watch it later. So thank you for joining, Kevron. So since you just came on, I just wanted to let you know that this is a discourse about self-discipline, and it is directly in tandem with the question that you asked earlier, which is how you develop self-discipline. At your own leisure, I invite you to go back and watch from the beginning, or rather listen from the beginning, so you can see how the foundation was laid as it relates to my understanding of self-discipline. So now I'm going to get into the essence of self-discipline, and I will culminate with how you develop that. Okay? So first of all, how you develop self-discipline, it starts with knowing what you want. So in other words, it's about becoming clear about what it is that you want. When you're absolutely clear about what you want to achieve and why you want to achieve it, that is what gives you that initial inspiration that you will need, especially when moments get desperate. Those are the things that will keep you grounded when you face adversity. So to gain clarity about what it is that you want, you have to ask yourselves a couple of questions. And the first question that you might want to ask is, what is it that I want to do? Or maybe it is something that you want to become, a particular profession that you want to excel in. So what is it that you want to achieve? That's the first thing. And it may also mean that you have to change some habits that you have, right? So what habits do you maybe need to change, or do you need to develop in order to get to that point or get to that big goal? What behaviors do you need to change? If you're someone who procrastinates a lot, you may need to change some behaviors in order for you to maximize your potential, so to speak. And what is that one thing that you want to focus on at this moment? Last week, we spoke about the importance of just having one thing that you're focusing on and ensuring that all your goals are in some way connected to that one thing, because the focus is necessary so that you don't wind up all over the place and you cannot really maximize on that goal or that skill because you are focusing or trying to focus on too many things. And as we established last week, you cannot really multitask unless it is some mundane activities that you just do naturally, like eating and walking. But multitasking is not something that is practical or even possible. Okay, so the first thing is to to become clear about what it is that you want to accomplish, or in other words, why you want to accomplish this thing. What is your why? What is your reason that will keep you focused in difficult times? And with clarity of purpose, you can weather almost any storm. And that is why that is so important. The fact is that self-discipline requires inspiration to keep it going. And it is this inspiration, or in other words, your why, which keeps you grounded in these tough times. So that's the first one, clarity of purpose. Hi, Sister Camille. Thank you for joining and thank you for the love. I really appreciate it. Okay, so the next thing is that you have to decipher what adjustments you need to make in order to get on that trajectory, which leads toward what you want. When you see something that you want, you need to also understand that if you have wanted this thing for a long time and you kept doing something and it was not giving you the result that you wanted, it may be that you were going about it the wrong way. And that's why it is said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So the fact is, you need to look into yourself, do some introspection, do some reflection so that you can decipher what specific behaviors you will need to cultivate to achieve the goal that you seek. What specific habits do you need to adopt to achieve this goal? And then you make the necessary changes. So again, the first thing is, in answer to your question as to how to develop self-discipline, the first thing is to have clarity of purpose. Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Or why is it that you want to accomplish something? Why is it that you want to become somebody? And the second thing is, what behavioral changes do you need to make in order to accomplish this? The third phenomenon is, who are the people who inspire you? In other words, who can you find to emulate? As Jack Canfield said, success leaves clues. So the persons who have gone before you, even right now, who are excelling at the thing that you're trying to achieve, who are they? Because you need someone to remind you that it's possible. Like for me, I have several persons who inspire me, and one of them is Lisa Nichols, because when she describes her starting point and juxtapose that to where she is, or rather with where she is today, it is a constant reminder to me that it is also possible for me. Kevron says self-discipline is the master key to riches, Napoleon Hill. Well, definitely, Kevron, but in addition to that, self-discipline is the master key to you becoming your best self, because it is my belief that we're all rich already. We were born rich. So if you want to accomplish material possession, then you're seeking wealth. I'm not trying to be rich. I'm trying to be wealthy because I was born rich. And I believe that as children of God, we were all born rich because He has already charted a course before us. We were predestined for a great cause. And it's just for us to tap into that unlimited resource inside of us to become the best version of ourselves. And that in and of itself is a process. And right now we're discussing just one small element of that process, and that is self-discipline. So again, the first key to developing self-discipline is to have clarity of purpose. The second one is assessing yourself to see what behavioral changes you need to make to ensure that this discipline is not only developed but maintained. And the third thing is find someone to emulate. Kevron says, I admire Les Brown and Brian Tracy. Yes, Kevron, I totally agree. The calendar that Brian Tracy makes every year, it's so helpful because not only is it a calendar that tells you what the date is, but it also inspires you to read books, and it also helps you to narrow down your goals. It is just amazing. And I'm going to try to find the one for 2017 and attach it somewhere so that you guys can benefit from it. I will put it in the group Manifest Your Greatness Now. So if you're not a member, you can join that group. So, and Les Brown, as we know, he's among the top 5 motivational speakers in the world. He also had a very humble beginning where he was born on the floor. He was adopted with 6 other siblings, raised by a single mother. And today he's so well established. And right now he's spending his time feeding into other people and helping other people to develop themselves. So Kevron, I love those two. Thank you for pointing them out. Guys, if you have time, you can go check out Les Brown and Brian Tracy. So in terms of finding someone to emulate, it was Alan Cohen who said, great masters neither want nor need your worship. Your greatest gift to them and yourself is to emulate their divinity by claiming it as your own. So we have great teachers like Les Brown, who is so amazing, and he does not hold back. He shares everything that he knows, and he tells you what he did to accomplish his dreams, you need to learn from great teachers like these. Because these teachers are at their best when they are learning and not necessarily when they're teaching. So when they tell you what it is that they did to get to where they are, you need to listen keenly because you can learn a lot from them. The fourth phenomenon that is needed to develop self-discipline is the plan of action. You know, I always talk about the action plan. You need to have an action plan because you can have all these great ideas in your head, and if you don't either write them down somewhere or have some sort of idea as to what steps you're going to take to accomplish these goals, you will just be all over the place. Everything will be a big blur or a big jumble, and you will find yourself going around in circles. So you need to have an action plan. Julie Connor, the educator and author, said, "Passion fuels dreams. Commitment fuels action. Get clear about what you want to do and why you want to do it. Take action, and the time is now." I think that quote essentially sums up everything we have discussed so far. Kevron says, "I listen to Rocky theme music to get myself motivated to grow." Okay, I'm not sure what that is, Kevron. Maybe you can enlighten us a little bit more. But for me, I listen to classical music a lot. I used to do that when I was in school, and it helped me to study and retain information that I read. So I continued even after that, and it still helps me today. I think it's very soothing. And practicing mindfulness and meditation is also very helpful. And for me, because I'm always thinking a mile a minute and I'm always doing so many different things, sometimes meditation doesn't really work because I cannot sit still for too long. But mindfulness is definitely very helpful. And so I have soothing music, such as the one I normally play on this podcast, that helps me a lot. So again, guys, it is very important that you develop an action plan as you seek to become more disciplined, because that is what keeps you grounded and focused on what it is that you want to accomplish. If you don't have a plan of action, you will basically go in all different directions. And Earl Nightingale once said that a ship without any sense of direction will wind up on some beach a derelict. So you need to know where you're going. You need to have some idea as to what steps you're going to take to get there, and then make adjustments as you go along. So many experiences can become overwhelming, and if you have no sense of direction, that's even worse. And that is why we procrastinate. So many of us procrastinate because things just seem so difficult. And it is when you write them down that you get clarity, that you can put things in a hierarchy, that you can decipher what is important and what is not important. And even in writing your to-do list, sometimes if you don't write it down, you don't realize what mundane activities you could actually remove. Some of us like to have a padded to-do list that looks really long, but that is actually counterproductive, because when it's really long and you get to 12 o'clock and you realize that you are not accomplishing the things that you set out to, it is something that will actually cause you to want to give up. You're more inclined to abandon your journey for that day, because at the middle of the day you realize you're not even halfway along your list. And that is why having an action plan is so integral, because it allows you to put things in order of importance, and it allows you to decipher what mundane, unnecessary tasks you can omit from your to-do list. Oh, okay, Kevin, Rocky, okay, I know that song. I'm not going to try to sing it though, because I'm not a singer at all. I'm good at many things. Singing is not one of them, but I know that song. Okay. And that's a very powerful song as well. So if that's what helps you to stay motivated, then continue to listen to it. Whatever works for you, stick to that. Different things work for different people, okay? So it's not only important for you to build an action plan, but this action plan must be effective, okay? So you can always sit down and write action steps from 1 to 100, but if they are ridiculous or ineffectual, you're not going to achieve anything from them. So you have to be realistic based on your circumstances or the amenities that you have available to you. You have to make your action steps to keep in line with those realities. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to accomplish what you set out to. So one of the things that I speak about when I speak about goal setting is having a clear deadline. Because if you have no clear deadline, you will keep pushing it back, telling yourself that you have more time. But you never really have more time, do you? We all have the same amount of time. And if you don't have a clear deadline, you don't maximize the time that you have now, because you always feel like if you don't do it today, you can do it tomorrow. But actually, for me, it's the opposite that is true. If I do it today, I don't have to do it tomorrow, right? And that is one of the ways I deal with procrastination. If I have something to do today and I know I could put it off until tomorrow, I get so much gratification out of doing it today and waking up tomorrow morning knowing that it's behind me. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it is something that works for me because I am someone who have a tendency to procrastinate. And so I have to motivate myself. And one of the ways to motivate myself and to remain disciplined is to get it out of the way now rather than leaving it for tomorrow, because it's almost a guarantee that tomorrow something else will arise, and not only will you have that something else to do, but now the thing that you brought over from today, the list keeps growing, the time is still the same, and then you become demotivated. So if you can do it today, don't leave it until tomorrow, okay? And also, when you have an end date in mind, that deadline we spoke about, when you have an end date in mind, all your resources and your energy are usually channeled in the appropriate way, because that will help you to maintain the necessary momentum that you need to follow through and see things through to fruition. So having an end date allows you to keep focused even when you may not feel like you have enough energy to continue. Okay? So the final thing, the final point, or the final factor that is required to develop self-discipline is making yourself accountable. If you cannot find an accountability partner, it's okay. You can start with yourself. You need to be accountable to yourself. When you set these deadlines and you set these goals and you develop this action plan, you have to hold yourself accountable. Okay? So in order for you to do that, you basically have to know, you have to be reminded as to why you're doing what you're doing. So even in developing your action steps, you need to encompass in that your why. Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? And that is what reminds you, even when things get really difficult, it's what reminds you that you need to stay the course, because there is a goal that within your view. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So that is why being accountable to yourself is so important, even when you don't have an actual accountability partner. Okay? So basically, I'm going to sum up with a quote from Andrea Ribmer, and she says, to take responsibility for yourself as a leader and as a person, you need to learn to unlearn bad habits and learn from your mistakes. So part of holding yourself accountable is absolving yourself of those bad habits that keep you stagnant and that prevent you from pursuing your dreams. So if you have certain habits, like I spoke about procrastination, or if you have the habit of becoming distracted by secondary activities, you need to remove those distractions. Even if it's social media, you don't have to be scrolling until your thumb gets tired to look at what everybody else is doing, when you could spend that time outlining a plan or brainstorming how you may go about achieving some goal. You know, sometimes the 20 minutes that you take to scroll through Facebook to look at what everybody else is saying and doing and wearing, you could be developing a plan for your next day or your next week. So that's a part of it, getting rid of bad habits, like things that constantly distract you and detract from your journey. And also learning from your own mistakes and also from other people's mistakes. If you know that certain things are likely to lead you down a path that you don't want to traverse, then you can learn from other people's mistakes. You don't have to do it yourself. Why do you have to learn from your own mistake when it's so clear from other people taking that same route that it is likely to lead you there? Kevin says, how can I make myself disciplined? How can I make myself disciplined, fun and enjoyable? How can I develop a system that works for me that is very simple? That is where I fall short. Can you show us a sample of what an action plan looks like? Or can I measure my progress? Okay, Kevin, those are actually a lot of questions, and I'm going to dissect it and respond as best as possible. So your first question is, how can I make self-discipline fun and enjoyable? Well, fun and enjoyable is relative. For me, whenever I think about becoming disciplined, I don't necessarily equate that with being fun. necessarily or enjoyable. A lot of people will tell you, oh, if you enjoy what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. And to an extent, that is true, because most times we associate work with things that we do because it's necessary. And if we didn't have to work, most of us probably wouldn't. And that is why you have to know your purpose, because when you know your purpose, you're inspired to do what it is that you love, and you're inspired to take action. And so it doesn't even matter if it is fun or enjoyable. That will not be your focus. If your focus is to develop a plan, or if your focus is to equate discipline with having fun and enjoyment, then you may become sidetracked. In other words, you need to focus on why it is that you're doing what you're doing and start there. Because when you're able to narrow it down to why you want to accomplish something, what is your reason, what is it that keeps you going even in the tough times, it will become enjoyable, because you will soon realize that your life feels so unfulfilled unless you're doing something that connects in some way to your dream. For example, for those persons who have read Courageous World Catalyst, or best-selling book that came out on August 1st, you would have seen where in my story I spoke about how I felt like I had hit a brick wall after so many years of going to school, achieving multiple degrees, going to law school, the whole gamut, and coming out feeling stuck. That wasn't even something I could share with a lot of people, because they wouldn't have understood, especially my family. They wouldn't have understood, because the persons looking from the outside in, they saw a successful young lady who was on her way to great things. But unfortunately, that's not how I felt inside. And I didn't know why, so that was even more frustrating for me. I was working, I was making good money, but I was not inspired, and it did not make me happy, because I knew something was missing. And it actually took a tragedy of sort for me to realize that I was not doing my best. So Kevron, what I had to do was to evaluate myself, and I was introduced to the whole notion of finding your purpose and all of that. I guess some way, somehow I was doing that, but I was not enlightened about the whole notion of it. And so once I started to understand that, I became interested. And when I started to explore that, and I got a coach who helped me to decipher what it is that my passion was, after that, that's when I became inspired. That's when I became much more disciplined than ever before. And to tell you the truth, I enjoyed every day, even though enjoyment was not my goal at the beginning. So the point I'm making is that even though you don't necessarily set down enjoyment and fun as your goal, it will definitely come. I don't mean to be circuitous in my response, Kevron, but I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. You should not necessarily make fun and enjoyment your goal, but rather ensure that your goal is aligned with your purpose, and then using the steps that I have outlined prior, remain committed, be clear, have your action plan, be accountable to yourself or get an accountability partner. And every single day you'll be taking inspired action, because you know that you don't want to depart this dimension without having fulfilled your purpose. Hey, Renee, thank you for joining. It's good to see you. And Zandrine said, if you do not enjoy what you're doing, as in your job, it is impossible for you to achieve what you want or reach to the finish line. Okay, Zandrine, before I finish answering Kevron's question, thank you so much for that comment. It's very insightful. And for me, I distinguish between job and work, because for me, your job is what you're doing now to pay the bills, to maybe take some trips, to get your vacation, etc. But I distinguish that from my works, because my work is what I was called to do. It's what I'm doing right now. My work includes speaking and inspiring people and helping people to become the best that they can possibly be. And that's why the group is called Manifest Your Greatness Now, because I understand that the only time you have is right now, and that you need to do all you can do to manifest your greatness now. So your job is what you go to during the day or whatever your hours are. And you can do it because you know that your goal as it relates to your job is maybe to save up some money to invest in your work, as well as to pay the bills and to send the kids to school, etc. So you may not even love it. You may not enjoy it, but you can still do it because those are the goals as it relates to your job. And that's why I distinguish it from your work, Zandrine. And I'm so glad that you shared that with us because it is so important. But that's why I distinguish your job from your works, because your works are completely aligned with your purpose. It's why God put you here. And the thing is, the things that you need to do in order to fulfill your life purpose, in order for you to impact the people you were called to serve, because all of us were called to a life of service. And that's why so many of us feel unfulfilled. That's why we keep going to jobs that we hate, because we're not inspired. We don't feel as though it is allowing us to be the best that we can be. And that is why so many of us hate our jobs. And that's why, Zandrine, so many of us have said that it's impossible for us to achieve what we want or to reach that finish line that you pointed out, because we do not love what we're doing. So again, thumbs up. I want to give you like 1,000 thumbs up, Zandrine, but this button doesn't allow me to do that. I love that. Renee says, true, I agree. There's difference between your job and your work. Yes, Renee, I totally believe that there is a difference between your job and your work. And I hope you understand the distinction I was trying to make. Everyone, if my answer to the first part of your question so far has helped you in any way, let me know. If you're not satisfied with my response, let me know and I will expound on it. So the second part of your question is, how can I develop a system that works for me that is very simple? Again, Kevron, it is not about the system being simple. But what you're going to realize is that when you're taking inspired action, when you're doing what it is that you love, simplicity will not be your goal. But I'm not discounting what you just said, because simplicity sometimes is necessary. Because when things seem too burdensome and too heavy, we are more likely to abandon the course prematurely. So I do understand the basis for your question. And so there are so many ways to start out on a simple footing, and basically it starts with writing it down. Because sometimes coming to that life purpose, it's a process in and of itself where you may have to brainstorm. Like the other day we spoke about you having to find a way to marry your two big dreams. And even that I know for you might be difficult, because for me sometimes it's difficult because I'm good at so many things. Like many of you on here, I'm good at a lot of things. I used to design clothing. A lot of clothing I owned when I was younger. My mother used to make them for me. I would come to her, give her the design, and she would make them. I can style your hair any way you want it. If you want me to relax it or color it or style it, I could do that. And I can do poetry, Renee, you know that. I still do poetry. One of these days I'm going to recite a poem and share it with you guys, and you tell me what you think. But yeah, so I'm very good at poetry. I am good at speaking. I have dabbled with acting a little bit, and I think I am good at that. And I am good at motivating people and empowering people and making them feel better about themselves. So, and there are other things that I'm good at. Thank God, because He has enough confidence in me to give me all these gifts. So one of the reasons why I've waited this long to embark on this journey was that I didn't know which one to choose, because I felt like I had to choose. And it is only in understanding what your purpose is, or what God's purpose for you is, and understanding the importance, why it is absolutely necessary for me to fulfill that purpose, that I was able to take the one that gives me the most passion, the one that was at the basis of my most burning desire. It was only when I realized that I also realized that all the things I am good at, they in some way, shape, or form connect to my big goal, which is to help people. All the things that I'm good at are connected to that, because if I'm styling your hair, I'm helping you. If I am designing your dress, I'm helping you. If I'm speaking, as I'm doing right now, I am helping you. And if I'm writing, I'm helping you. So all of them, all those things are in that big melting pot of helping people. But still, I had to narrow it down to use a particular channel to get to you. And that is where the speaking comes in. So in developing a system that works for you, that is simple, it starts with writing down the things that you're good at and brainstorming to see what amenities that you have at your disposal right now, or who are the people who can help you to achieve those things. And for my clients, Kevron, I usually use the questions: what, when, who, where, why, how. Because those are the factors which help you to decipher what it is that you need to do, how you can go about doing it, where you can start, who are the people who can help you, and how you can basically use these people to your advantage. Okay? And the other part of your question is, you said that that's where you fall short. You're saying that you fall short in developing a system that works for you that is very simple. Maybe we need to speak outside of this context, Kevron, but maybe it is the approach, because it's not always about simplicity, but it is not about it and it is about it. I know that's a paradox, but the not about it part is what I discussed before, but it's simplicity in the sense that you need to simplify it by starting with writing down, because even in developing your action plan, you cannot really have an action plan if you don't know what the goal is. So before you can even get to that point, you have to have clarity of purpose and a clear goal. And that's why that was the first factor that I mentioned as it relates to you developing self-discipline, because when you gain clarity about what you want, it is what's going to remind you to stay focused. And to gain this clarity, you have to decipher what do you want to do or to be or to achieve, or what you want to accomplish. And then what new habits you need in order to get that. What new habits do you need to develop? What behaviors do you need to change? And what is that one thing that you want to focus on this moment? So actually this week's topic goes hand in hand with last week's topics of finding your one thing. So if you have a time, go back and listen to that as well. And the last part of your question, well, you had asked if I could show a sample of what an action plan looks like, and or can you measure your progress? Well, measuring your progress is the easy part, Kevron, because after you go through that whole process of gaining the clarity and developing your action plan and setting deadlines, it's going to be easy for you. And before the year ends, I'm going to have a book, actually. It's an ebook that I have written, and it's about goal setting. I went through the process in January of this year, and I'm going to be coming with an updated version of the ebook for December of 2017. And in that ebook, Kevron, you're going to see the exact strategy I use to outline my goals and why it actually works, and how you can keep yourself accountable by having, actually, I use mine in tandem with a bullet journal, and that helps me to literally take inspired action every single day, because every day there is a block within my day, no matter how busy or full it is, there's a block within my day that requires me to sit down and do something that will help to advance my purpose. It doesn't matter how full my day is. If it is 1 hour, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, there is a block that is set aside to take some action towards my goal. And that's how you measure it, by taking small or incremental steps every single day. So I hope I answered your question. And here Kevron says, oh, your response is on point. Okay, thank you, Kevron. I'm glad that the question was somewhat answered for you. And Zandrine says, I do not downgrade any job or any work at all. Reason being, some people can do certain things that they were put here, as you said, on earth to do. And sorry. Let me see. Okay, my apologies, guys. I was not able to see all of the comment. So you said to do I force ahead here's to cut someone here and to feel it on my skin. Oh wow, it makes me feel crazy, and I do love doing nails, and other persons can't stand nails. You are absolutely right about that, Zandrine. So that's why I said that there is something that you were called to do that no one else can do. And like you said, there are some people who are good at doing hair, that when they're doing hair, there's this guy I watch on YouTube sometimes. He's kind of crazy, but he's a hair fanatic, and he's a hairstylist. And when he describes to you what styling hair does to him, when someone cuts their hair, or when someone sits in his chair and say, do whatever you want to do with my hair. Sorry, guys. He says that gives him such a feeling that is indescribable. He loves it so much, and he wakes up every day. And when he wakes up and he is able to regain his consciousness and look at the day that is before him, and he's able to go and braid somebody's hair, style somebody's hair, he literally runs to the shower. Sometimes he doesn't even eat. He gets dressed and he's out the door because he's going to do hair today. And that's his passion. Now, when your passion makes you feel like this, it no longer matters if it's easy or if it's hard. You're going to do it no matter what, because it's what gets you out of bed. It's what keeps you focused on your dreams. So I totally agree with what you said, Zandrine. It is not about what is good for the other person. It's about what is good for you. It's about what inspires you, what invokes that feeling inside of you, what keeps that fire burning. And so if it is styling someone's hair, or doing someone's nails, or designing someone's clothing, or doing motivational speaking, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it inspires you and it makes you happy and you feel fulfilled and you feel like you're serving someone in one way or another, then that is what you should focus on. Renee says, I love that comment about focusing on now. Sometimes we linger so much in the past and dream so much about the future that we do nothing in the now. A lot of us are reluctant to act now. Renee, I can totally identify with you on that. I don't know if it has anything to do with our sign or if it is just as an individual, but I have been there. I cannot tell you how many times I have been there. And it took that tragedy that I experienced in 2016. Actually, it was 2015, in May of 2015, that made me realize where I was and what I needed to do to get out of that stagnation. It was what made me realize the importance of now. And if you read the story that I was referring to in the Courageous World Catalyst, it is called This Is My Time. And I am telling you, I literally felt the shift. I literally felt that shift. And once I started to appreciate the importance of now, my whole life changed. And that is why my life-changing book, which I have been working on, which I will tell you more about, that book I initially intended to publish on November 30th, but there have been some changes, not because I wasn't able to finish it, but I realized that something is missing. And I want to give you guys a book that is going to change lives. I know it's going to change lives because it is not for my own doing. I am humbled that I was chosen to write this book. The book is called This Is My Now. And it is going to be a life changer. It's a transformational book. And I want you all to understand. When you read that book, you're going to understand why appreciating the now is so important. There is no other time that we have. Yesterday has already passed. Tomorrow is yet to come. What we have right now. What are we going to do to empower someone? What are we going to do to surrender ourselves so that we can serve other people? What are we going to do to kill pride and ego so that we can understand that there is God in every human being and every living thing? What are we going to do to salute the divinity in our brothers and sisters so that even when they hurt us, we will see beyond that and see the good that was created in them? Now is your time. Now is the time to act. And Zandrine also said, Jack of all trades like me, powerful woman. Zandrine, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but my Instagram name is Renaissance Woman. I was trying to come up with a name. I always use SKB, but I just did not know what to come up with that would aptly describe me. And Instagram gave me the ability to do that because I could use a long name. So my name on Instagram is SKB Renaissance Woman. And the essence of a Renaissance woman or a Renaissance man is someone who can do so many things because they have realized their gifting and they are not shy about utilizing those gifts to help someone and to impact the world in one way or another, and at the same time to live a fulfilling life. For me, I wake up every day trying to live a full life because right now is all I have. And she says, we will survive, my sister. Of course, I will survive. Okay, I'm not going to sing, guys, because I'm not any good at that. That's not one of my gifts. So clarity is key. Yes, Kevin, clarity is definitely key, and we can speak off air as it relates to developing an action plan, especially going into 2018. Oh, I'm so behind time. Going into 2018, I want to help as many people as possible to develop their goals and also to realize that it doesn't matter where you started from. I said that yesterday in my discourse with the amazing Vicky Gold, and I will say it again. It's not about where you started, but it's about how much you want to get out of the starting blocks. And it's also about being in the right place at the right time. Being in the right place at the right time means that you have invested in yourself, you have prepared, preparation is key, and then you are now well placed to take advantage of that opportunity. And that essentially sums up what luck is. I don't know how many of you have read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason, but in that book he speaks about what luck is. And luck is essentially where preparation meets opportunity. And even last night, I had a divine experience in a sense. I had a meeting to attend, and for those persons who know me, I'm never late for anything. Even when I know you're going to start 1 hour late, I'm still going to arrive on time. And so for that meeting, the meeting was a 6:30 one, and I actually got close to the venue by 6:30. I had an umbrella. It was raining, and it was freezing rain, so it was very cold. And when I got close to the venue, the rain tore up my cheap umbrella. So I was so torn, and in my mind I kept saying I need to turn back, but then a voice kept pulling me saying, you're already close, just keep going. But I'm like, I cannot show up like this, my hair is wet, I'm looking disheveled, why should I go? But as I'm thinking I need to turn back, I kept walking forward. That was just so weird. So my internal voice was saying turn back, but my physical action was moving toward the place. So I got there and it was 7:02. So I'm very late and I'm embarrassed because that was my first meeting. And I got to the door. It's a glass door. So I see everybody inside. I've never met these people before. And so I felt really weird about entering the room because I'm already late. I don't want to make an entrance when I'm late, right? So I'm standing there. The lady who is basically coordinating the whole thing from the back, she looks outside, she sees me and she said, come in. So I was a bit relieved. So I walk in, I quietly put down my wet stuff. And one lady got up and gave me a chair and I sat down. Now, as I sat down, I knew right there and then that I was in the right place. And I was just happy that I did not follow that voice that kept saying, turn back. So I sat down and I started to take in everything that was happening. And as it so happens, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but 7 is my favorite number. But as it so happens, they wanted 7 volunteers to go up and speak. And here I am, I'm late, I'm sitting down, and they wanted all those volunteers to be first-time visitors. So I'm sitting there, and the lady went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm trying not to look at her because I don't want to be 7. I'm late, I'm wet. I look up, and she's pointing at me. So I got up and I went up there. And guess what? I was put in a position where I had to do an impromptu speech, and it was about attitude. It says that attitude is everything, and there was another part to it, but the essence of it was attitude is everything. So I had to come up with an impromptu speech right there and then about attitude. And the first thing that came to my mind was my story that I shared in the anthology. And so I shared that with them. And at the end of it, everybody said, oh, I'm so glad you came. I hope you come back. And it made me realize how important it is to be in the right place at the right time, because I made some really good connections. And when I think about the alternative, had I turned back and had I gone home instead of going to the meeting, that would never have happened. So you have to be prepared to take advantage of an opportunity when it arises, and you have to follow your gut. Because even though that voice in my head was saying, logically, you're wet, go home, my gut was saying, keep going, and my legs were listening to my gut. So, Zandrine says, even if you hate your boss, you will be excited to go. Yes, Zandrine. And ultimately, your aim should be not to hate them, but to salute the divinity in them. But I totally get what you're saying, because you're so excited and so inspired by what you do. The fact that you don't get along with your boss, it does not become a priority anymore. It ceases to be a priority because you just cannot wait to get to your desk or to get to your office to get started working, because you love what you do so much, Zandrine. So I totally understand what you're saying and I identify with that. But one of the things I tell myself, I practice my affirmations daily. And one of my affirmations is that everyone is there for my good. Everyone wants to see me be a success. And so that boss, that proverbial boss that you might hate, or that you think hate you, they want you to succeed. Even if they don't, or they think they don't, you know they do, because you salute the divinity in them, and there is good in every man, there is God in every man. And so God is stronger and more powerful than everything and everyone. So you have to salute the divinity in that person and just do your best, focus on your goal, and be happy. And you're able and willing to take inspired action because you have this dream, this why that keeps reminding you why you must stay focused. And that again is why I chose focus as my power word to go into 2018. Focus, focus, focus. Kevron say, oh, that is where the fun begins, through passion, service. And oh, Lord, Kevron, oh, I would love to be your teacher. You're an amazing student. Absolutely. That is where the fun begins. So your goal is not to be fun and easy and simple and all those little words that we like so much. That's not the goal. The goal is first identifying what it is that you were called to do. And we were all called to be disciples, essentially. We were all called to preach, or rather to inspire other people. But inspiration comes in many different shapes and forms. So your purpose, identifying your purpose, is really identifying what channel you are meant to use to inspire those people. So if it is speaking or dancing or acting or doing something amazing with your hands or installing electricity, I mean, there are a plethora of things to choose from. There is a never-ending, unexhausted list. But you totally get the picture, Kevron. I don't even need to belabor this point anymore because you have hit the nail on the head. So Kevron also says, let us release our brilliance through self-discipline. Absolutely. It takes discipline. For those persons who have not read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, I think it is a very, very good book. It's very useful. I don't necessarily agree with every single thing that she says because she basically relegate talent to the back bench. And I say back so many times for emphasis. So she makes it seem as if having talent is not at all important as long as you can persevere. But that is not true. Talent is part and parcel of it because we're all born with some kind of talent that needs to be honed and developed. With that said, I think it's an amazing book because it shows you what is the essence of being disciplined and committed and persevering to the end to see your goal through to fruition. So if you haven't yet picked up a copy of Dr. Angela Duckworth's book Grit, then you should perhaps try to at your own leisure. I'm also thinking about doing book reviews because I've read so many books. I'm always telling you guys about books. And I know that in reality, some people don't have the leisure of time to sit down and read all these books. So I am considering as a part of my 2018 plan to perhaps start either a book review club or something where I come on here and we basically go through some of these amazing personal development books that can help you to become the best Kevron or the best Renee or the best Zandrine that you can be. So let me know what you think about that, guys. I have so many books that I would love to share with you guys, but I know that time will not permit me. So Kevron says, great book title, sounds like a collaboration with Lisa Nichols, Speaking into Being. Which one is that, Kevron? You mean the one that, my book that's coming out? This Is Mine Now? Well, you never know. You never know. I would love to meet her. I know I will one day, so you never know. And Zandrine said, staying at home cannot help. Exactly, Zandrine. The persons who are out there to help you, who are lined up to help you fulfill your dream, to help you to cross that threshold, they're not going to come knocking on your door finding out, Zandrine, are you there? Do you need some help? No, you have to get out there and take it and grab it. You have to grab the bull by the horn and keep fighting no matter how hard it gets. No matter how hard it gets, I'm going to make it. You have to tell yourself that every single day. I have had to tell myself that every single day. I remember when I was in college and there were times when I had nothing to eat or I had just rice, nothing else. And I was so embarrassed as a young girl without any kind of wisdom. I was so embarrassed sometimes that I would wait until all my flatmates were asleep. And for those people who lived on campus in college, you know that college kids don't sleep early. So I'm talking about 2, 3 a.m. 3 a.m. when everyone else is sleeping. I would get up and I would cook my rice, no meat, nothing. And I would boil my rice with some salt. And then I would stealthily go into my room and that would be dinner with some water. Sometimes I didn't even have that. So what I'm saying is that those were the moments when I had to realize and understand that there was a big dream and that I would remain committed no matter what. That is how it is with your why, Kevron, and everyone else who are listening. No matter how difficult it gets, you are constantly reminded why you should stay on that trajectory, even though it's almost impossible for you to continue because your why, you're constantly reminded why you're doing what you're doing. And Miss Bennett says, you are right. It's not where you start. It's where you are today. Definitely. And I will even go a step further to say it's not where you start, but how much you want to get out of the starting blocks. You have watched many races, I'm sure, and some excellent runners who started off and they didn't start well. And maybe they were poised to win the race. And then when you see the start, you're so disappointed because you say to yourself, wow, that's a messed up start. It's over. But you stay focused, and when you look, some way, somehow, that runner is able to regain his composure very quickly, and in that 100 meter or 200 meter dash, he's able to recover and medal, sometimes even win the race. I've seen Usain Bolt, who I admire so much, he has had many bad starts, but because of his amazing talent and his even more amazing commitment, And if you want to understand what I mean by even more amazing commitment, not to discount his talent, but you need to see the film I Am Bold, and then you will see the sacrifices that young man has made to get where he is today and to have had the amazing career that he did. It was all about grit. I think Usain Bolt is the epitome of grit. Right? So what I'm saying is that it helps you to see the commitment. It helps you to see that even if getting out of the starting block is rocky, you can actually recover from that based on how much you wanted to get out of the starting blocks in the first place. And that is why I always tell you that your circumstances do not define you. You are not your circumstances. You need to understand that you are placed in those circumstances for a reason. It's because God has so much confidence in you that he knows that you can do it. And you need to start believing that. Okay? And Melia says, keep on pressing. Yes, sis, keep on pressing. And Zandrine said, I must tell you, 100% talent and skill are the best things. No one in the world without those, it's impossible. Oh, absolutely. You need talent, you need skills. And if you have friends, or even if you feel within yourself that you have no talent, it's not true. You need to stop telling yourself that lie. When I was younger, I cannot tell you how many people used to say, oh, I don't have any talent. And I didn't even understand how damaging that is. But now I know, and I'm entreating you, I'm impelling you to not say that to yourself and to tell your friends to desist from saying they don't have talents, because we all do. And Melia says, yes, do a book review club. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm definitely going to look into that. I'm excited to do that, Melia, to share with you all the stuff that I learned from these amazing books and hopefully get your feedback as well. So that is something I'm certainly going to look into. And Miss Benny also said, I would love one in that book. Yes, definitely. Oh, Tanisha, my sister, it's so good to see you. Thank you for joining. And Kevron said, yes, that's what I'm talking about. And Miss Bennett says, focus is the key. So I am going to wrap up, guys. I think I've kept you long enough, and you guys have been so diligent and amazing. You have stayed with me through the long haul, and I am ever so grateful for that. So I'm going to wrap up by just simply reiterating all those points that we have made. Remember, our discourse this evening was about the importance of having this self-discipline and how that will help you to get to your big goal, help you to attract the success that you seek. And of course, I don't want you to ever forget that it all starts with you seeking God first. If you don't believe me, if you don't agree with me, that's okay. You don't have to listen. But the persons who are meant to hear this will stay. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Not some things, not a few things, all things. And Kevron, that's not true. More time, when you say more time is needed, what do you mean? Like for me to expound on this topic, or you mean we all need more time? Clarify before I shut you down. Sorry. Okay, so remember, it starts with seeking God first. And when he says seek ye first the kingdom of God and all these things will be added unto you, what he means is that all things, not some things. So all the self-discipline and all the wealth and all the amazing things that you need, when he says all these things, it encompasses all of that. But you have to understand the role played by God in our lives. And that is when you seek God. That is when you realize that no matter how big your vision is, you can accomplish it. One of the reasons why some of us are not able to face our lions, some of us are not able to realize our big vision, because we're trying to do it all by ourselves. And that's impossible. But when you seek God, he's going to send you resources. He's going to send you amenities. He's going to send you people who can help you to realize those goals. Even right now, I am seeing persons on here who have helped me in so many different ways, who join me all the time. Miss Bennett, Renee, like so many people, my own sisters, I saw a couple of them on here. And you guys have helped me so much because I have taken that step to get out there. And that is what we all need to do. We have to boldly declare, first of all, who we serve. And secondly, we have to declare that anything that we want to achieve is possible for us, no matter where we started. First of all, Les Brown was labeled educable, mentally retarded. And look at him today. What if he had listened to those lies? If it wasn't for that teacher, Leroy Washington, who said to him, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Just imagine how his life would have turned out if he didn't have that mentor. We all need people. We all need people to help us, to remind us. And that's why we need accountability partners, because they help us to stay focused. They're there to remind us why our dreams are possible, why we should remain steadfast no matter what. And Renee says, anything we want to achieve is possible. Absolutely. You have to claim what you want. I agree, Zandrine. So someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Do you understand the essence of that statement? Do you realize how powerful it is? You know how many people told me growing up, oh, but you're not going to amount to anything. Growing up in the Caribbean as a young girl, if you got pregnant early, you dropped out of school, you were seen as useless, and people would make you believe that you could not recover from it. So they would pronounce such things on me. They would tell me, oh, you're going to get pregnant, you're going to drop out of school, things like that. And I repel those things, not because getting pregnant is a bad thing. That's an amazing blessing, but timing can make all the difference for some people. So I stayed away from those things. But the point is that people made all kinds of pronouncements on me when I was growing up. Did they get to me at some point in time? Of course they did. In one way or another, they impacted me. But as I grew older, I realized that people's opinions of me didn't have to become my reality. So when I started listening to Les Brown and I heard that statement, my mind was blown. And I'm here today to entreat, or rather not to impress you, but to impress upon you that other people's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And Zandrine said, the house is mine, happiness is mine, peace is mine, family and health is mine. Absolutely, Zandrine. I decree and declare that all the things that belong to you by divine right will come to you. And Zandrine said, that's a lie. My doctor now is from Canada and she got pregnant at the age of 15 and now she's one of the biggest doctors in Georgetown. Ooh, I am so happy for your doctor. Congratulations to her. My mother was a teen mother too, and she had 6 children before she decided to go back to college. And some of you know that my mother and me graduated from college together. We were sitting in the same row. My last name is Brown and hers is Bowen, and we were seated in alphabetical order. So we were in the same row graduating from college. Hello. So like I said, it's not where you start, but how much you want to get out of the starting blocks. So before I end this conversation, and Kevron, I did see your comment about the podcast should be 2 hours. I don't want to bore anyone. So, but I'll bear that in mind, like maybe having two parts for the podcast as opposed to just doing everything in one go. Maybe I'll have a second part. I didn't even know this topic would last so long, but I just realized that self-discipline is so important to so many people, and that this is basically the valley which lies between action and results. You can have all the action plan you want, but if you're not disciplined to see them through to fruition, you will never get to the other side where outcome lies. Okay, so just to reiterate the points that I made this evening, for those persons who are just joining, I encourage you to go back and listen to the broadcast from the beginning. I think this evening we had a very insightful and stimulating conversation, and I really appreciate everyone who joined in the discourse. Miss Bennett, Zandrine, Kevron, Renee, everyone who joined in the discourse. I know all our friends listening here, they appreciate you so much, and so do I. So the main points I discuss in how you develop self-discipline are: 1, clarity of purpose; 2, what behaviors do you need to adjust? What habits do you need to drop? 3, who are the persons you can emulate? Who are the persons that you can use to remind you that your dream is possible? And 4, what are some of the factors which operate to hinder your process, and how can you eliminate or surpass these factors? 5, what is your action plan? What is a plan of action that you're going to implement to get to your big goal? And finally, who will hold you accountable? And remember, in the accountability aspect of it, you have to stick to the plan. Benjamin Franklin once said, diligence is the mother of good luck. So in order for you to become lucky or to attract good luck, you have to be diligent. When you're diligent, people will notice. When you're committed, the right people will see you. When you are disciplined, when you have self-discipline, opportunity will literally come and knock at your door. And sometimes you will find yourself in position where you have to choose because there are so many opportunities. But if you're lazy, forget it. Luck is not attracted to lazy people. And that's why when lazy people win the lottery, in no time at all, they become poor again because they didn't bother to learn the art of managing money. or the art of investment. And they think hitting it big means that this money is going to last forever. And within a few years, most time under 10 years, they are back where they have started, or even worse, they're in debt because they were lazy and they didn't bother to learn what they needed in order to manage that money. All right. So I thank you all for joining me this evening, and same place, same time next week, God's willing. And we will be at this place at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time to discuss another stimulating topic. Thank you, Kevin, for suggesting this topic on self-discipline. If anyone else have suggestions as to what we can talk about next week, or if you want us to further this conversation, let me know in the comment section. I promise your comments and your suggestions will not go unnoticed. Also, you are more than welcome to join the group Manifest Your Greatness Now, because we share powerful insights from other learned individuals around the world every single day. And finally, on Monday at 6:30 a.m., we do the Monday Mindset Motivation to give you the fuel that you need to have the most productive week that you can have. Until next time, this is your personal transformation strategist, Shauna-Kaye Brown, saying good night, y'all.